Yo, what is up, guys? Ethan here, back with another video, and today is my mock draft 3.0 part 2. Yesterday I came out with part 1 and some picks that was traded. I'm not going to be going over. Actually, I may. But there is going to be 4 new trades in this one. There was 4 last video, so if you didn't watch part 1, go watch it. I really suggest it. And yeah, let's get straight into part 2. Okay, so if it's a previous trade that we already talked about, it's gonna be in green, and if it's a new trade that we haven't got to, it will be in orange. So with the 33rd pick, the Bengals select Josh Jones, offensive lineman from Houston. Even though you just got Jonah Williams in last year's draft, you still need a tackle. And Josh Jones, even though he can be inconsistent at sometimes, I think he's underrated because he went to Houston, and Houston was not good last year. But Cincinnati is going to need a tackle, and Josh Jones is the best on the board. With the 34th overall pick, the Colts select T. Higgins, wide receiver from Clemson. Now, with this trade right here, the Colts, they need a receiver to pair up with T.Y. Hilton and Paris Campbell. Both of those are small, speedy guys, so you get the opposite of them, and you get maybe not the most athletic, but a big wide receiver who wins the most contested catches. So I think T. Higgins would be a perfect fit in the Colts offense. With the 35th overall pick, the Lions select Ross Blacklock, defensive lineman from TCU. On draft night, in the last video, or 3.0 last video, I had the Lions going with Jeff Okudah. Don't be surprised if they go with Derek Brown at 3. They need a defensive line really, really bad. They needed one to pair up with Damon Harrison, and they released Harrison. So they got a big hole there. And the best defensive lineman on the board is Ross Blacklock. And now we have our next trade on the clock. And yes, this is Yannick Ngakoue, by the way. The Giants get picked 73, Yannick Ngakoue in a 2021 6. And the Jags get picked 36, 238 in a 2026. I really don't know what side should have got more on this one. I'm not sure if it's the best trade. The Giants, you trade back to 73. You get that third round pick now. You get Yannick Ngakoue to get that edge rusher. Jags trade up again. They get 2 picks in this year's draft, just adding on to more picks. And you swap next year's 6. So, I'll see how that goes. And at pick 36, the Jaguars select DeAndre Swift, running back from Georgia. I'll tell you now, in this mock draft, I do not trade Leonard Fournette, but if you're going to trade Leonard Fournette, you're going to need a running back, and DeAndre Swift arguably is the best running back in this year's draft, and he's still on the board. So, that's going to be a pick right here for Jacksonville. So, at pick 37, the Chargers are on the clock, and they select Austin Jackson, offensive lineman from USC. I personally think that offensive line is the biggest need for the Chargers. Yes, even more important than QB. My bad. I just need to clear my throat. But you need an offensive line bad. And Austin Jackson, some people have him like at 19 on their big boards. I'm not as high as him, but I think right here is going to be a good spot for Jackson. With pick 38, the 49ers are now on the clock. This was with the trade for the Panthers, and they got A.J. Terrell. But the 49ers get Jalen Reagor, wide receiver from TCU. Last mock draft, you already filled in that cornerback spot as you got C.J. Henderson. You still need a receiver, and the best and fastest one on the board is Jalen Reagor. With pick 39, Miami gets another tackle, and that's Isaiah Wilson, from Georgia. I can definitely see Cesar Ruiz going here, and personally, I wouldn't be surprised. He's definitely fallen. Ruiz is probably my biggest faller in this mock draft, if I'm being honest. But you need another tackle to pair up with Wirfs, and you got Isaiah Wilson. And then at pick 40, the Texans select Neville Gallimore, defensive lineman from Oklahoma. Personally, I think Jordan Elliott is a better defensive lineman prospect. But I think Gallimore is just a really good scheme fit with the Texans defense. So Gallimore goes maybe a little bit early at pick 40. With the 41st overall pick, the Browns select Grant Delpit, safety from LSU. I'm not high on Delpit as most people are. Last year really concerned me. I know he can go way earlier, but I just don't think he will. And Cleveland, besides offensive line, they're going to need a safety. And Delpit's the best safety on the board. You go get your safety of the future. With 42, the Jaguars select A.J. Epineza, edge rusher from Iowa. When I said Cesar Ruiz was the biggest faller, I was wrong. A.J. Epineza is. I could even potentially still see him going number 16 to the Falcons. But now he's going pick 42 here to Jacksonville. That is crazy. That's a big leap. But A.J. Epineza, he is not the most athletic, but man, he is probably the most powerful edge rusher in this draft. Just look at his Iowa highlights or tape. Fantastic strength. And that's what Jacksonville needs. And you pair him up with Derek Brown, your defensive line may not be the fastest, but it's definitely going to be one of the strongest. With pick 43, the Bears have the first pick of their draft this year, and they select Kyle Duggar, safety from Lenoir-Rhyne. Personally, I don't think he's the best safety on the board right here, but he's just that big, fast, aggressive safety, and I think that's what the Bears are looking for as a safety. With pick 44, the Colts select Jalen Hurts, quarterback from Oklahoma. If Jordan Love doesn't go by, I think if past the Saints, if Jordan Love's still on the board, Colts trade up and get Love. But Love went early at pick 18 to Miami, so Jalen Hurts is going to be behind Phillip Rivers. Everyone says, oh, maybe he should be a running back. He should stay at QB. I'm not a big Hurts fan, but definitely a second-round guy in my opinion. He is mainly a scrambling QB, and then you just have a great pocket passer and Rivers to sit behind here. That could be a really good mentorship. At pick 45, Tampa Bay gets another offensive weapon in Jonathan Taylor, running back from Wisconsin. This offense is going to be lethal next year in Tampa Bay. Yesterday, right before I uploaded, they got Rob Gronkowski as he came out of retirement. Fantastic. Just get another weapon for Brady. And now this is not going to be a weapon for Brady. It's going to be a running game for Bruce Arians. Jonathan Taylor is the best running back on the board, and he goes here. At pick 46, this was with the Broncos trade earlier, as the Broncos traded up for Judy. Arizona selects Jordan Elliott, defensive lineman from Missouri. Personally, I think Elliott is easily better than Neville Gallimore, and maybe even better than Ross Blacklock. And Arizona, I think they're going to address offensive line in round 1 and round 3. But since you got a second round pick here, you're going to go defense, and I think for the rest of the draft, you're also going to go for defense. And best defensive lineman on the board, you go get him. Don't know, that's not a capital L. But with the 47th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Jeremy Chin, safety from Southern Illinois. I am a Falcons fan. Maybe I kind of did this on purpose. But I do think Kyle Duggar is more of a scheme fit in Chicago. But for the Falcons, Jeremy Chin is just a type of player that Dan Quinn would love in his defense. Jeremy Chin, I think he can be a boom or bust pick, but I personally think he would be doing good in the NFL. And with pick 48, the Jets select Lucas Niang, offensive lineman from TCU. The first 2 rounds, it depends. If you go offensive line in the first round, this is going to be a receiver. But since you went with Henry Ruggs in the first round, you go with offensive tackle here, and Lucas Niang is the best on the board. And right away, as we get here, we have a trade. The Seattle Seahawks trade up to pick 49 and give Steelers pick 59, 133, and 144. And with the 49th pick, the Seahawks select Cesar Ruiz, offensive lineman from Michigan. Besides Epineza, Ruiz has been the biggest faller in this year's draft. Seattle has 2 first-round picks. You keep the last one, and you go up and get the best offensive lineman on the board in Cesar Ruiz. You need to protect Russell Wilson and your running backs in Rashawn Perry and Chris Carson. So, I don't know what that was, but great pick right here for Seattle. With pick 50, the Bears are back on the clock, and they select Trevon Diggs, cornerback from Alabama. I'm not a big Diggs guy. He gets burned way too often, but I do think he has one of the best coverage skills in this year's draft. With 51, Dallas selects Noah Igbinoghene, however you say his last name, a cornerback from Auburn. I really wasn't high on him before, but in the past few days, I've been really liking him. He has tons of potential. As we know, first few years at Auburn, he was part of a great wide receiver core, and 2 years ago, he transferred to cornerback. I personally think if he waited one more year, he would have been a late to mid first round pick. That's just my opinion, though. But Dallas, he may not be a first day one impact, but give him a season, maybe 2, he could definitely be a great starter on your team. With pick 52, the LA Rams have their first pick, and they select Joshua Uche, edge rusher from Michigan. You need an edge rusher for the Rams. The pair up with Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers. And Joshua Uche is the best on the board. Bang. Pick 53, the Eagles are back on low. What was that? My bad. But the Eagles selected Willie Gay Jr., the linebacker from Mississippi State. I like this dude a lot. As we know, he was in my sleepers video. He had off-field issues, but those were just academics. You don't need to be academically knowledgeable in the NFL. You just need to have skill, and that's what Willie Gay has. I personally think Willie Gay could be better than Patrick Queen or Kenneth Murray. Not better than Isaiah Simmons, though. The Eagles need a linebacker, so this is a really good pick. With pick 54, the Bills have on the clock for the first time, and they select Terrell Lewis, edge rusher from Alabama. I think the past 2 mock drafts I had this, and I'm still going with it, as I do think Terrell Lewis is a great edge rusher. The Bills need an edge rusher, and Lewis in Sean McDermott's defense is just a great fit. With pick 55, we have a trade. The Jets go up to pick 55, and the Ravens get pick 68 to 11 in a 2021 5th. And the Jets select Marlon Davidson, defensive lineman from Auburn. The Jets, even though we know that they need a corner, they need a wide receiver and an offensive line. A position that you may not know that they need is defensive line. Or slash edge, because he can play both. For Marlon Davidson, I'm not sure if this would be the best fit in the world, even though he is without a doubt the best player on the board. He reminds me a lot of Quinnen Williams, last year's first round pick. We know how he did. He's not looking good right now. So this could scare the Jets away, but I think they're going to take the risk and go with the best player on the board. And I picked 56 Miami. Oh my gosh, they're on the board again. And they select Curtis Weaver, edge rusher from Boise State. You need an edge rusher on that defense. You went offense with the majority of your picks besides Xavier McKinney. And now you go here with Curtis Weaver. At pick 57, the Rams are back on the clock, and they select Matthew Pert, offensive lineman from UConn. The Rams, you have Andrew Whitworth, who is 39. And your other tackle, I don't even know, because he's irrelevant most likely. Your offensive line is atrocious. Probably one of the most underrated in the league on how bad they are. I am a big Matt Peart fan, and he was also one of my sleepers. He goes here at 57. I picked 58. Minnesota is back on the clock, and they select Jonah Jackson, offensive lineman from Ohio State. Personally, probably one of the most underrated offensive linemen in this year's draft. Maybe because he was at Ohio State and they had way more talent. But Jonah Jackson's a really good player. He can play guard and center. Even though he just got Garrett Bradbury, if he gets hurt, he can fill him in. But the Vikings need a guard desperately. In the first round, you went with Denzel Mims and Jeff Gladney to fill out those two big needs. Now you go with the best guard on the clock, or the big board, and that is Jackson. The Steelers are back on the clock after the Seahawks trade, and they select Raekwon Davis, defensive lineman from Alabama. I think with their first pick, they're going to be trying to find a Javon Hargrave replacement as he went to the Eagles, and Raekwon Davis is just the best available. I picked 60. Baltimore's on the clock, and they selected Laviska Shenault Jr., wide receiver from Colorado. He's 100% healthy now after that injury at the Combine, and he looks fantastic. Personally, I can see the Shenault rising on people's boards after that, but injuries are still a concern with him. Baltimore, they just have speedy receivers, and Laviska Shenault is more of a big physical receiver. And now you have two different type of weapons for Lamar Jackson. My bad. With pick 61, the Tennessee Titans select Prince Tega Wangojo. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. If you're watching this, I'm sorry. Offensive lineman from Auburn. Really good offensive line. Personally, I think he goes in the early to mid third round. But I think he would be a really good fit as you just lost Jack Conklin in free agency. I picked 62. The Green Bay Packers select Chase Claypool, wide receiver from Notre Dame. Everyone said it was a reach in last video, and I have him going in the second round now. I personally like Chase Claypool. He can play wide receiver or tight end. The Green Bay Packers need both. Like I said with my first round, they did go with Brandon Ayuk in the first round. And like I said, I think in the first two rounds, they're either going to go back-to-back wide receivers or they're going to go with a wide receiver tight end. I can see Cole Kmet going here, but I'm just not a big fan of him. So Chase Claypool goes here. I picked 63. The Chiefs are on the clock, and they get Akeem Davis-Gaither, linebacker from Appalachian State. Really underrated linebacker in my opinion. And the Chiefs, they need a linebacker. Probably the most important need besides a corner. I'm really a big fan of Davis-Gaither, and he goes here. And the last trade and the last pick on this video, the Seahawks trade pick 64 to the Patriots for pick 87, 100, and 231. And with the 64th pick, the Patriots select KJ Hamler, wide receiver from Penn State. For New England, you're trying to get weapons for Jarrett Stidham. I think Jarrett Stidham is going to be next year's starter unless Tua falls to them. Or Jordan Love, which in this mock draft, it didn't happen. KJ Hamler, they need more receivers. So now after you get Hamler, you're going to have N'Keal Harry, Julian Edelman, and KJ Hamler. Like with the Packers, I can see Cole Kmet going here, but I do think that's going to be a little bit of a reach. So that is it for my mock draft 3.0 and my last mock draft before the draft. My next video will most likely be Friday, as I will be grading the first round picks. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, share, subscribe, and like always, have a good day. Peace out.